I was standing at the edge of our long dirt driveway, arms crossed, watching two middle-aged HOA goons try to slap zip ties on my father like this was some low-budget episode of Neighborhood Cops. Except it wasn't a game. And my dad wasn't some hapless suburbanite they could push around, was the actual county sheriff. And the best part? His mic was hot. His entire department had been listening to the whole mess unfold in real time. So yeah, things unraveled fast. Before you ask how two glorified clipboard warriors got bold enough to try to detain a uniformed law enforcement officer on his own property, honestly, I've been asking myself that too. Short version? A perfect storm of HOA delusion and unchecked suburban ego. Long version? Well, buckle up. This has been a long time coming. Our family's ranch sits just outside city limits, nestled in a stretch of land that's been in our family since long before any developer dreamed of building beige McMansions nearby. It's peaceful, remote, and just the way we like it. Then, 5 years ago, someone got the bright idea to drop a pre-planned HOA community right up against our eastern fence. Gated, uniform, flower pots out front, beige siding stretching in all directions like a suburban dystopia. Unfortunately, it also came with the kind of HOA leadership that treats property lines like polite suggestions and assumes everyone within shouting distance should fall in line with their paint codes. Enter Lorraine. 50-something, power bob haircut, the kind of woman who carries the energy of a substitute teacher who just watched half a courtroom drama and decided she knew the law better than the Bar Association. She declared herself the president of Clearview Harmony, which was ironic considering she'd been trying to turn our ranch into an unofficial HOA outpost since day one. It started with letters, then fines, then veiled threats. All of which we ignored. We weren't part of their HOA. Our land wasn't zoned for it, had never agreed to it, and couldn't be forced under its jurisdiction. Lorraine thought if she said things confidently enough, no one would question her. Spoiler, they did. Repeatedly. And she lost. Repeatedly. Still, Lorraine was persistent. Last year, she and her board tried to claim the shared dirt access road between our properties was now HOA-owned. My dad again, county sheriff, politely reminded her that the road predates their subdivision by 40 years and that we had full legal rights to use it. He even brought the paperwork. Lorraine brought a Google Maps screenshot sheet clumsily MS painted over. Guess who the county sided with? But if Lorraine has one talent, it's escalating nonsense. When the legal wrangling didn't work, she convinced the HOA board to hire a security service. What that meant in practice was she and her nephew Travis, fresh out of his second year at a third-rate community college, put on matching polos and plastic badge holders and began patrolling the neighborhood like it was Fallujah. They dubbed themselves the Neighborhood Safety Unit. My dad called them mall cops with delusions. Travis was the worst. He strutted around with mirrored sunglasses, a walkie-talkie clipped to his belt, and a laminated citation pad he treated like holy scripture. I once saw him try to ticket someone's garden gnome for being visually disruptive. Then came the morning everything went nuclear. I'd just gotten back home for the weekend and was unloading groceries from my truck when I spotted Lorraine and Travis standing at the edge of our property, staring down my dad. He was in full uniform, checking a loose section of barbed wire along the fence. You'd think seeing a fully dressed county sheriff might give someone pause. Not these two. Lorraine had her phone out, recording like she was about to be crowned the next viral TikTok crusader. Travis, puffed up with faux authority, was reading from a laminated card like he was laying down the law. I walked over just in time to hear Travis accuse my dad of unauthorized entry into HOA-controlled land. Our land. The same land we'd owned since the Reagan era. My dad just looked at them, calm and steady, and pulled out his real badge, the metal one issued by the state. I'm the sheriff. You're trespassing, he said evenly. Lorraine didn't blink. Impersonating an officer is a federal offense, sir. I swear I saw my dad's soul momentarily leave his body. Still, he didn't raise his voice. Just reached for his belt radio and clicked the mic twice, county signal for standby. That's when I knew things were about to get real. But Travis and Lorraine? Totally oblivious. They whipped out zip ties. Travis took a step forward. You are under citizen's detention for obstruction and unlawful conduct, he barked. Dad just smiled. Calm, cold, terrifying. The way only seasoned officers can smile. And then over the open mic came the dispatcher's voice. Units en route. Lorraine froze. Travis hesitated, still gripping the zip tie. Then came the first cruiser. Silent. No sirens, just authority. Then a second. Then a third. By the time 6 patrol cars were circling the drive, Travis had ducked behind Lorraine like she could shield him with her PTA energy. A deputy stepped out, looked directly at Travis, and said, "Sir, you are attempting to detain a law enforcement officer on private land. That's a felony." Travis started stammering about sovereign HOA authority zones. Lorraine shouted, "This is harassment. We're defending our community." All while they stood on our land, zip ties in hand, trying to cuff the sheriff. And here's the kicker: Dad's mic had stayed hot the entire time. Half the department, plus a couple of bored traffic cops munching donuts, had been listening to the circus unfold in real time. No need to ask questions. Everything was recorded. Then, just as the deputies started reading Travis's rights, Lorraine yelled that she had evidence: drone footage, logs, witness statements. She pulled out her phone and started playing a video of my dad walking along the fence line. Deputy Morales leaned in and whispered to me, "You want to see the drone she flew? FAA has it registered to a different address. She's been flying it illegally." Boom. Now it wasn't just impersonation, it was a federal violation. Did Lorraine back down? Of course not. She insisted the FAA couldn't regulate HOA airspace. Yes, HOA airspace. While we stood there, stunned by her confident ignorance, a fourth person stepped out of a patrol car. Badge on belt. Clipboard in hand. FAA investigator. It should have ended there: Travis zip-tied in the gravel, Lorraine getting a federal lecture. But no. People like Lorraine, they don't quit when they're wrong. They double down. 2 days later, she called an emergency community safety review panel. Translation: in HOA kangaroo court. The only item on the agenda? My dad's abuse of authority. Of course, he didn't attend. He had a real job. But I did because someone posted the agenda on Facebook, and I'm not made of stone. Lorraine had turned the clubhouse into a mock courtroom, folding tables, blurry screenshots from her drone, Travis in a lawn chair with a wrist brace like he was recovering from the Great Zip Tie War of 2024. She called the neighborhood under siege, presented grainy photos of my dad walking a fence line, and a cease and desist letter we never opened. Then came her witness, our old neighbor Everett, who once threatened to sue us because our rooster crowed before 6 a.m. Everett solemnly testified they got barbed wire like it's a war zone. Then Lorraine announced the HOA was imposing a new restriction: we're banned from using the shared road between 6 a.m. and 8 p.m. 7 days a week. She even handed me a paper notice, watermarked with the HOA logo, a stick figure tree, and the words "peace and order." I didn't argue. Just smiled, thanked her, and called my dad. "Good," he said. "Now it's official." I didn't get a tuntle the next morning. Turns out that new restriction was the final straw the county needed. My dad marched into the Public Works office, pulled every easement and historical survey related to that road, and 2 days later the county posted a formal land use notice. That road? Now classified as an unrestricted, county-maintained easement. HOA couldn't touch it, couldn't gate it, couldn't limit it, couldn't charge fees. Lorraine had just turned her final imagined victory into a legally binding defeat. She didn't take it well. She stormed down our driveway, phone in hand, ranting about ethics complaints, government conspiracies, and her legal team. My dad calmly asked if that included Travis, who was now being investigated for impersonating an officer. She stormed off. That evening, her drone returned. I didn't flinch. Just walked inside, grabbed the Coyote shotgun, and took one clean shot. The drone dropped like a rock. Within an hour, a deputy came to take our statement. FAA violation: unregistered drone surveillance without consent. Fines were going to be brutal. The next morning, an FAA notice showed up in Lorraine's mailbox. 2 days of silence. Then came round 2. A white SUV parked at the end of our drive. Emblazoned on the side, Community Protection Services. Travis stepped out. New uniform. Same smug grin. Same clipboard. Same nonsense. I didn't even get mad. Just watched as he strutted up to our property line and started snapping photos of our fence, barn, livestock until he tripped over a cactus my mom planted as a joke. My dad didn't confront him. He made a phone call. 30 minutes later, 2 county zoning officers arrived. They asked Travis if he had a permit for commercial surveillance. Spoiler, he didn't. No license. No insurance. No authority. Not even a real business registration. One officer asked who authorized this. Travis pointed toward the HOA and handed them a Word doc typed in Comic Sans. They were not impressed. That evening, the HOA sent out a newsletter accusing my dad of rural intimidation and claiming the drone incident had been staged. Lorraine even hinted that our family had secret ties to the government. My dad laughed so hard he almost dropped his fork. The final blow came a week later. The state HOA board launched an investigation. Turns out Lorraine had diverted over $12,000 in HOA dues to fund her fake patrol, buy signs, and print legal advice from internet forums. When the board found out she tried to pay her FAA fines using HOA funds, they called an emergency meeting. This time, the vote was to remove her. She was booted. Travis was banned from holding any HOA security position. Every fake patrol sign? Ripped out. The dream of community protection services? Dead. Oh, and remember those fake boundary maps Lorraine submitted? Yeah, that was document fraud. Now she's facing county charges. And the cherry on top? The board voted to permanently exclude our ranch from any future HOA claims or jurisdiction. A few weeks later, Lorraine showed up on our porch. No clipboard. No badge. Just a tired expression. She wanted to cut a deal, asked us to issue a public statement calling it all a misunderstanding in exchange for peace. I told her I'd think about it. 2 days later, my dad and I showed up at the final HOA meeting. Packed house. Press. Officials. State reps. My dad stood up and calmly listed every violation: zoning laws, fake documents, misused funds, FAA citations. This isn't about neighbors, he said. This is about unchecked authority and imaginary power. The board dissolved the security program, made our exemption permanent, barred Lorraine from ever holding office again. She left the meeting before it ended. No apology. No farewell. A few weeks later, the new board sent us a letter. A real apology. Typed, signed, sealed. They promised to work with the county moving forward. And Lorraine? Last I heard, she started a 3-subscriber blog about sovereign neighborhoods. Her first video? How I exposed a crooked sheriff. The mic cut out after 30 seconds. Perfect. So yeah, they tried to arrest the sheriff with fake badges on his own land. They called it justice. We called it Tuesday.